while joyful, the holidays can be challenging enough. So how about we just take the food stress out of the equation? Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, I'm Melissa. I'm a dietitian and we talk about food and nutrition and all that fun stuff here on my channel. So if you like that, make sure you are subscribed. We also talk a lot about intuitive eating here on this channel, and that is actually what we're doing today. But we're getting a little more specific and we are talking about intuitive eating around the holidays. How it is almost Thanksgiving, I will never understand. But here we are. The holidays are fast approaching, and like I said, I love the holidays. They're super fun, super joyful, but they're stressful too, and they can be really challenging for a number of different reasons. So even if you do feel like you really have the intuitive eating principles down pat, sometimes that like big stress, like a holiday or a celebration or something like that, can kind of throw a wrench in things. Since the holidays are kind of an extended like month and a half celebration, I figured that it might be a good idea to talk about how you can stick with the intuitive eating principles over the holiday period. So step number one is listen to your body. And this is obviously such an important part of intuitive eating in general, but especially around the holidays when we tend to kind of just like eat things because they're there, eat certain foods even if they don't make us feel good, that sort of thing, just because it's like tradition or you feel like you have to. I think it's really important to tune into your body. This can mean a couple different things. It can mean making sure you're listening to hunger and fullness cues. I know around the holidays, like I said, there's a lot of foods available that aren't normally available. There's way more food like around all the time. And as we've talked about several times in intuitive eating, it's totally fine to eat when you're not hungry sometimes. But I think a lot of us tend to really see those foods in like a scarcity mindset because you only have them at a certain time of year, and we end up ignoring a lot of our hunger and fullness cues, and we end up doing a lot of eating past fullness and a lot of eating when we're not hungry just because a certain food is present. And so I think really tuning into those hunger and fullness cues is so important. And if you do have the intuitive eating principles down pat, then I encourage you to kind of look back at what helped you do that in the beginning. What steps really worked for you when it came to tuning into those hunger and fullness cues? A lot of times that can just mean slowing down a little bit. It can mean really getting out of that scarcity mindset. Like I know for me in particular, my family makes tons of Christmas cookies and they're all so delicious, and it's so easy to feel like, oh my gosh, this is the only time of year we have these cookies. And then in reality, so many of them are left over and they're put in the freezer that we have them for like 6 months afterwards. So there's really not any need to like eat those as if this is the only time I can ever have them. Now, of course, there are going to be times when you are gonna eat past fullness. I feel like Thanksgiving dinner is a good example of that for a lot of people. Sure, that is one meal that you only have that meal once a year. And like I said, it's totally fine to eat past the point of fullness sometimes. But again, it's tuning into your body. This time, tuning into what is making you feel good. So are you eating to the point where you're feeling sick? Because that doesn't feel good. And the same goes for things like Christmas cookies and stuff like that. Like, is your body really feeling good when you're eating those things and not eating like vegetables and energizing foods that are making you feel good? There's of course a balance there, but it really just comes to tuning into your body. How are you feeling, and are you listening to those hunger and fullness cues? The second kind of goes along with that scarcity mindset, and that is, don't set time limits on things. So I think a lot of us say, I'm just gonna eat whatever I want over the holidays, and then starting January 1st, I'm going on a diet, I'm gonna lose X amount of pounds, etc. And that just perpetuates this scarcity mindset and what we call the Last Supper mentality. So I'm sure I've talked about this before, but the Last Supper mentality is kind of when you think like, I'm gonna go on a diet tomorrow, so I'm just gonna eat as much as I can of the foods that I'm not allowed to have while I'm on my diet. I'm just gonna eat a ton of them tonight to just get it out of my system. And when you're setting a time limit for the holidays like that, that's exactly the mindset you're perpetuating. So by telling yourself you can never have these foods again, starting this date you're not allowed to have them, or even things like this is the only time of year I'm allowed to have this, knowing that those foods are limited and that you're not going to allow yourself to have them at a certain point is just going to make you want them more. Again, if you really have the intuitive eating principles down pat, think back to when you were giving yourself true food freedom. Was there a food that you felt really out of control around that you then brought into your house and allowed yourself to have as much as you wanted of it, and now you don't feel out of control around that food at all? It's a very similar mentality of I'm allowed to have as much of this as I want, as much as makes me feel good, and I can stop when I'm not feeling good about it anymore. This is something I can have at another time if I really want to, and this is just a meal. It's not a last meal, it's not a final unhealthy meal before I'm super healthy. Really continuing that food freedom that you have brought in when learning the intuitive eating principles, really focusing that on this time of year is super important in getting out of that Last Supper scarcity mindset. My third tip is setting boundaries. I think this can be a really challenging time of year because of maybe the people that we're around. Maybe when you are by yourself or with your partner or around really supportive people, you have no trouble eating intuitively, but maybe your mom or your parents or your sister or someone in your family is always talking about their diet, is always bringing up calories, is always commenting on other people's weight. That can be really challenging, and you could feel so great about yourself and your habits on your own, and then you go spend time with people whose focus is on those things that you're trying to avoid, and it can be really tough. It can kind of be a blow to your confidence. It can make you question things, and so I think setting boundaries is super important. Now, if you feel comfortable talking to your family, that is awesome. It doesn't have to necessarily be a huge talk, but maybe if you notice someone is like constantly pointing out how many calories something is, just tell them, hey, I'm really focusing on not working on calories. Would you mind just not mentioning that? Or if they're commenting on other people's weight, just say, hey, it makes me really uncomfortable when you do that. Would you mind just keeping that to yourself? It doesn't have to be like a big argument or a big thing, just kind of setting those small boundaries when you can. Now, if you don't feel comfortable doing that, it's totally fine. I definitely understand that. I think in those situations, it's just setting limits to yourself and figuring out how you can remove yourself from the situation. I'm not talking about like getting up and leaving in the middle of Thanksgiving dinner or something, but if someone is talking about weight or food or something like that, maybe it's time that you get up and go to the bathroom, or maybe you need to refill your water glass, or maybe you need to go for a walk or something. There are so many ways to remove yourself from a stressful situation that don't have to be like dramatic or extreme. So I think it's important before we enter into the holidays, into these situations, to do a little bit of planning ahead of what boundaries do you need to set and how can you set them. And if you're not comfortable verbally setting those boundaries, how can you remove yourself from the situation in a way that you feel comfortable with? The fourth tip I have is a pretty easy one, and that is wear comfy clothes. This is something that we talk about a lot in intuitive eating and health at every size. Wearing clothes that actually fit you and that you feel comfortable in can make a world of difference. If you are wearing tight clothes that you're uncomfortable in, you're naturally going to be more focused on your body, on your weight, on how you look. Whereas if you're wearing clothes that you feel comfortable in, that are maybe a little looser and are not going to be tight if you're feeling a little bloated or something, it's such an easy way to avoid that self-consciousness that comes when you're wearing tight clothes and you're just fixated on how you feel in those tight clothes. So wearing comfy clothes can honestly make a huge difference, and it's such an easy thing you can do. And my final tip is probably the most important, I think, and that is just to give yourself some grace during this period of time. Like I said, it can be a challenging month and a half. There's so many stressors being thrown at us, situations we're not necessarily used to. So It's not gonna be perfect, and that is totally fine. Hopefully on this intuitive eating journey, you have realized that perfection is not the goal. It's just slowly allowing yourself to tune into your body, to give yourself freedom. You know what? If you eat past the point of fullness, that's totally fine. Maybe you did it in celebration. Maybe you did it because you weren't paying attention to your fullness cues. It's okay. There's always the next meal. It's always a learning experience of how we can tune in to our bodies when we really need to. If you're not able to set those boundaries this year, that's okay. Hopefully you can just be a little more mindful for next year and really kind of tune into what you actually need and what can you learn from this year that will make next year a little bit easier for you. Like I said, there's so many things to stress about over the holidays. Food is not one of them, even if it feels like it is. And honestly, I feel like it's been drilled into us that food is something to stress about over the holidays. There's so many things about how to not gain over the holidays, how to stay healthy over the holidays. And so it's natural for us to feel like we're gonna do something wrong over the holidays. Know that it is not gonna be perfect, and every year you can learn a little more. All right, so those are my top 5 tips of how to eat intuitively over the holidays. I hope this was helpful. I hope it maybe makes you feel a little bit better going into this season. If you have any other tips, then definitely leave them in the comments below. And let me know, are you right at the beginning of your intuitive eating journey? Are you like a solid intuitive eater and you're just feeling a little worried about the holidays? Let me know. Pop any questions you have below. Give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you have not already. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.